Hey guys, welcome back. So, today I got an email that made me start thinking about a topic that I haven't thought about since I started building Threepio here. Let me just read you the email. This is going to be easier here. Alright, this email is from Mark Daniel. He wrote, "Hi Gordon, hope you are well. Hope you don't mind my asking, but what electronic recording unit are you using for your servo sounds?" Now, by servo sounds, he is referring to the sounds that come from Threepio when he moves his arms or his head. If you've seen the movies, whenever Threepio moves, you hear a little zzz, 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 these little like mechanical sound. Now, to my knowledge, these sounds were made by actually recording servos and a electric car window for a car door. Jeez, man, that was fumbly. An electric car window. So we get the motor sound when you flip the window up. That was one of the things used. They may have used some other things. Those are the ones that I know of. Back when I started the suit, and I planned on making some kind of device to play these sounds, there were files for these sounds on the C-3PO builder forums. They were okay. It was nice that someone went through and cut them all out of the movie and saved them, but there were major variances in the volume levels, so someone would have to go through and actually correct all the volume discrepancies and then resave those files. Plus, there were like weird little hints of background stuff going on, like, you know, you might get a little sense that there's some music or like some sound effects happening outside of the servo, so it kind of ruined the effect a little bit. Plus, I never liked the way costumes sound when they have sound effects that play. Legacy Effects did this big robot, really awesome, and they had all these like motion controlled sound effects that were very well put together. As far as when it moved, everything worked really well, but it still sounded like sound effects coming out of speakers. It did not sound like this thing was making those noises. To me, it sounded artificial, and I feel like this would be the same thing if I added the servo sounds to Threepio. I feel like just playing them out of a speaker, you're going to tell they're played out of a speaker. So I'm trying to, like, was a thing that I was obsessing over for a long time when I started the build, was like, how am I going to make this sound like each element is making its own noise? I didn't want all the sound to just come out of one speaker. Like on my suit, the speaker is right here in the middle. I wanted it to sound like everything's making its own noises. And I considered maybe doing something mechanical inside some of the joints, like the elbows and the knees. I figured I could put some gears in there and set up like if you've ever taken a servo from a remote control car and turn the little servo arm without the thing being plugged in, it makes the sound. It's like a good sound, and I figured that could work if I could find one that would be loud enough. Another thing that has a similar sound that might even be a better setup was these. What are they? The flywheel cars, like a little toy car. You push it a few times and you let it go and they take off. Those have a little metal wheel inside, and they have 3 gears that interact. Maybe it's 4. I don't remember. They have a few gears inside that interact, and when you turn them, they kind of make the servo sound. But if you take them apart and look at the mechanism, all that gearing from the top, it's very narrow, and I figured that could fit inside, like inside an elbow. And here, you know, in this area, or somewhere in there, I could probably fit those little gears and get that sound. And probably something similar on the knees. Now, it doesn't need to be very loud. I didn't want it to be a super loud, overpowering thing. I just want it to be a little noise that you would pick up if you're standing there with the character. And then I figured for the shoulders and the neck and the head, I would probably figure out some kind of electric option for those parts, and I'll get into that in a minute. But, I never quite got that figured out before I started wearing this suit. And once I started wearing the suit to events, nobody cared. Nobody to this day has said anything to me about it lacking the sound effects, except for other C-3PO builders who've never really been around me when I've been in the suit. They just write me these kind of questions. Now, I kind of stopped caring about it. Once I realized nobody cared, and I also realized that the suit itself makes a ton of noise. Not good noise, but it just does. It just makes, it's like fiberglass bumping into other pieces of fiberglass. It just doesn't sound appealing, and to add more noise to that, wasn't the greatest thing. But now I'm kind of thinking about it again, and I think that I could probably pull this off a little better than I could 4 or 5 years ago. Now, mechanical parts aside, I have an idea for how I want to work out these electronics, and this long-winded video is basically a shout to anybody I know who, or anybody who's watching this, who is electronically savvy and might have some good ideas based on what I'm about to tell you. In my head, I think I've got a method figured out to make these sounds. Let's see, where do I start with this? So I want to use accelerometers. So you can get them really cheap, these little chips, and they detect your movement. So if I start moving my arm, it'll send a signal to a little receiver, and that receiver can pull a function. I can hook it up to an Arduino or some other one of these little computers that you can program, and I can have it play sounds or control the sounds or any number of options. So I'm thinking about using accelerometers for my arms and my head. 3 of them right now. That's what I've got in my brain. And to make it sound like the actual sounds are coming from the shoulders and the head themselves, I'm going to use these little surface transducers. I found some 10-watt surface transducers that are about a little less than an inch. They're really small, and I figured I could put one on each side and maybe even 2 by the neck up in here, so that when the neck moves, you actually get the sound comes from the neck, or when you move an arm, you get the sound from that arm. I'm interacting with someone who's close enough to hear these things. I want it to feel like this is actually sounds coming from this robot. Another thing is I don't want it to play the MP3s. Like I mentioned before, I don't like the way the MP3s sound. So I was thinking about the servo sound itself, and it kind of the motor sound changes pitch as it speeds up. So you get this kind of noise. I'm sorry about the stupid sound effects, but we're going to have to deal with it for this. I'm trying to make my point here. I think that if I could figure out a good emulation of that motor running at its full speed, which would be sort of the higher end of the pitch, kind of a consistent sound, and then have the sensors control when that sound comes on and off and the pitch of that sound. So I would have a post effect on the sound. So the sound effect would always be there, and the sound playing would be based on the volume turning on. And as the volume turns on, you'll get this little wave in the pitch. Let me grab a dry erase board here, and I'll draw this up. Okay, I'm back. Here's what I've got in mind. This is going to be terrible drawing. I'm just going to draw one sensor for now so you get the idea of what I have in mind. This will be whatever's producing my sound. I'm not sure what I would use yet. Sound. Look at my awesome handwriting. Can you even see that? This would be the sensor would be here. Let's say sensor. And this is going to go to here and here. This will be whatever computer I'm using to control this. Right now I'm thinking an Arduino. Maybe I'll use something different. I might even be able to embed the sound in the Arduino somehow. I'm not sure yet. What I want this to do is have the sound output come out here. Let's just say this starts out at the baseline is, let's say, 0 decibels. And this is kind of my baseline starting point. And then the top line here is, let's say, just for the sake of making this video, we'll just say it's like 50 decibels. We don't want it to be too loud. This is, I don't know yet. I have no idea, guys. I'm just making this up on the spot. So, I want, let's see here, I need some different color markers. Blue is going to be my volume, okay? Volume. I want, when I start to move, I want it to go from 0 to the full volume. I don't want it to just turn on like a spike. I want it to kind of go like this, like a curve. I want it to ramp up a little bit really quickly, like a fraction of a second. But I don't want it to just pop on and pop off. I want the volume to raise on and come off like this, like a little, you know, a little ramp on each side, basically. That looks terrible. Let me redraw that. So it'll ramp down. Not, I don't want to, you know, straight linear line. I want it to go like come on real quick and then turn off real quick at the end, but not just drop off, okay? So that's my volume in blue. Now the pitch of this thing, or the tone, I think I could get away with doing this with the tone too. I'll just say pitch tone will be this color, pink. I want this also to ramp up and down like this. I want the pitch to go up or down depending on the speed that I'm moving my arm, which I don't know how to set that up with the accelerometer, but I'm going to look into this tomorrow. Again, if you're a person that's good with electronics and you know how these work and you know a way that, or a better sensor than an accelerometer that can detect the speed of my arm, let me know, because this is why I'm making this video. I want to try to figure these things out. So yeah, I want the pitch and the tone to ramp up. So if I'm moving slowly, I get a zzz, and if I move fast, I get a zzz, or if I speed up, I get that quick acceleration of the pitch and tone will ramp up really fast. Zzz, 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 like that kind of, do you hear what I'm saying? I'm trying my best to make these sound effects super realistic with my mouth, but I don't know if I'm getting my point across. So this is kind of what I'm going for. This is, each sensor will do this, and then that output will go out here to that little surface transducer, the small one, which will go to whatever part of the suit this sensor is talking to. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm confusing myself trying to say it, and my drawing is stupid. But this is what I'm going for. I'm going to be looking into electronics. This is not something I'm dying to do right now, but as I get better ideas for this, I'm going to start buying some of the components and see if I can build this setup. The sound element that I talked about before, which is the servo pitch. I don't want it to be a recording. I want to see if I can get like the equivalent of like a MIDI file, or maybe there's some kind of just analog piece of electronic that will make that noise, where I don't have to have like a recording to play. Just is like a sound that's on. As soon as there's power, there's that sound. I don't have to worry about a thing recording starting and stopping. I just want the sound to be on, and then all we're controlling is the volume and the pitch. That's what I'm going for. So hopefully this makes sense. Gonna throw that down on the floor. I don't even know if that's going to work for anybody. But yeah, that's my question for my electronic savvy friends. If you guys have ideas for any element of that, let me know. If there's devices that you think would be better sensors to detect my arm movement or my head movement, let me know. I don't want the sensors to be in the armor pieces. I want to hook them onto maybe like the undersuit part, so that I can just put it on, and whoever the handler is who is putting me in the suit doesn't have to deal with a bunch of weird plugs and stuff. They can just hook up one set of wires to the amp and then be good to go, and make it as simple as possible for whoever else is involved. Because a lot of times I do an event, the people who are putting me in the suit have never done it before, and I'm trying just to get them to turn the eyes on can be tricky sometimes. So I want to make this as simple as possible for anybody that's, you know, outside of the suit. Anyway, hopefully that was an adequate way to ask these questions. I don't know if they, I don't know if anybody has any ideas on this. That's where I'm at now. If I come up with something better, I'll let you guys know. Again, this isn't top priority. This is just something that's going to be going in my brain. I'm going to start purchasing the little pieces, and then, I don't know, 6 months from now, I may sit down and try to put this together. Maybe sooner if there's time, I don't know. But yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback on this. And I'll be back soon with some other stuff. I got that mold finished the other day, so we'll take a look at that latex mask soon. Should be good. But yeah, geez, man, I don't know how to end a video. See you guys later!